Kris, we're going to start off today talking about one of the age-old arguments that's as old as Cain and Abel. What's better, cardio or strength training? We are joined today by Russ Yeager, who is also in the health space, and I want to hear from both of you.
Well, and Russ, just so you guys
Cardio.
know, last name Yeager is German for hunter. And
Yes.
this guy has an amazing story, and we've been playing this last year together because literally has transformed tens of thousands of lives over the last couple of decades on health journeys of transformation, has learned what produces permanent results and what doesn't, what leads to the yo-yo effect. And so we may want to kick it off with you as a resident expert on this notion of cardio or muscle. You're sitting down with someone that has goals. What should they be focusing on?
I'm a big weights guy. I always say if I had to pick one or the over, it's weights all day long. It's the only thing that's going to strengthen your bones, your joints, your ligaments. One of the biggest indicators of longevity and health. It's the only thing that's going to give you the muscles, and actually strength training is your best fat burning tool because it's actually going to, every pound of lean muscle you build burns an extra 20 to 40 calories per day. So for example, my average male client puts on 10 to 20 pounds of muscle their first year, female 5 to 10 pounds. So 10 pounds of lean muscles burning an extra 200 to 400 calories a day. I call that passive fat burning. Now, to be fair, all that being said, I would ask that client, what are your goals? If your goals are to be a long distance runner, to do ultra marathons, you know, I want to get out and just feel the nature of cardio, and that's what I enjoy. And I don't really care about my body. I don't care about strength. Okay, we can focus on the cardio. I'm going to say, I always tell people to do the two types of exercise. Number one, something you enjoy, so you'll do it. And number two, some kind of strength training. So I'm going to encourage that person to do at least 2 days a week of strength training while we focus on your cardio, because you're going to get some significant benefit from that. Now, if the person's goal is what most people are, I want to lose fat, I want to gain muscle, I want to look great naked and be as healthy as possible, then I'm going to focus on that strength training with a level of cardio as well.
I'm thinking about some of my CrossFit buddies right now that laugh at the bodybuilders and are like, where's the functionality in that? Like, yes, you can go and you can push weights and you can put on what they call Hollywood muscles because you're not actually gaining them doing, for most of us, functional movements. There's not, especially if you're not even a blue collar worker and you're not actually using your body and your muscles, it's just like, well, then it's just vanity muscles. And so they're like, hey, you should do the cardio and you should learn how to move your body and go for functionality. And to some extent, sure, they do push-ups and muscle-ups and pull-ups and things that develop muscle. But I think they're way more interested in general into ability. And I think they're going to fall a little bit more into that CrossFit camp.
Kris, and I'm gonna muddy the water here a little bit, and I've got two bodybuilders that are gonna push back a lot on this. Have you ever helped someone move, and you're like there to like carry furniture in big boxes, and then some dude shows up who's just like brawny and toned, and you're like, great, this guy's gonna be useless. Because they're already exhausted from hitting the gym that morning. They did leg day, so they're like, oh, my legs are so sore, I can't lift this. Like, I tell you not, I've done this several times with someone who's like a big bodybuilder, and I was like, at first thought they were gonna be tons of help.
That's why I always be the piano mover, man. I always grab the straps and I move the piano. So I don't
Really?
get
So
accused of
you're
that.
the opposite of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because I swear when a bodybuilder shows
Actually,
up,
I'm a
it's
horrible
like,
human being. When someone says, Kris, will you help me move?
What?
I pay and send someone over there and say, please help him.
exactly.
It's really
Delegation, baby.
So that's just going to the conversation about, is it actual functional strength
Yeah.
that you're building?
Well, so today I was in the gym, and every day I believe in doing something that I've never done before. It's a PB, and I go for 10 PBs a day, which means you have to get really inventive. I've got to do cardio in a more challenging way than I've ever done it before. Today,
So you do cardio though?
oh, we're going to talk about cardio and muscles. I mean, the reality is they're both important. But I, like today on my bench press, on my 6th set of bench press, I was benching 250 pounds. I was repping that out 10 times and then did a weight drop to 135 and then just cranked a whole bunch of them out. So today's PB, when you say, well, is that functional? Like, are these functional? Oh yeah. I mean, that's incredibly functional to be able to bench press with these 250 pounds, especially on the 6th go around. And so every day I'm looking for some kind of stretch that pushes me, whether it's, on the squat rack, trying to do something for my legs, push them in new ways. Because that's the coolest part about weight training for me is every day I get to prove that I'm better than I was the day before. I love that. And what Russ said is actually true, which is there are actually 2 indicators of longevity more than any supplement. And a lot of people are like, oh, that must be like stem cells or NAD or NMN. It's got to be some kind of modern supplement. I'm like, no. It's not hormones, it's not testosterone, it's not steroids. The two things that determine longevity the most are, one thing that Russ said, it is your strength levels. That's number 2. It follows number 3 with actual muscle mass. But number 1 is actually your VO2 levels, your cardiovascular levels.
Heart health.
And I'm telling you right now that just settles the debate for me that there's a place for cardio and there's a place for lifting. And I've lifted without cardio and I felt bad. I didn't feel very functional. If I get winded after going up a flight of steps, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. But I also used to be a marathon runner, a distance runner, an ultra marathon runner, a triathloner, and I wasn't hitting the weights. And while I felt a high degree of functionality, I also didn't feel very strong.
Russ, I'm going to come to you on this VO2 max.
Yeah, I don't know what your first of all, what your guys doing that can't lift. Like I've done CrossFit, and I actually felt more exhausted. When I did CrossFit, I don't necessarily do functional lifting now, but man, you would want me to help you move. I'm all day, man.
I'm going to take you up on
I'm
that.
lifting the heavy stuff. VO2 max, I mean, like Kris says, is super important. Like the presence of oxygen is the absence of disease. And so doing that cardiovascular work is what's going to get that oxygen into your body. Although I'll say this too, and there's studies to support it, like doing intense strength training. A lot of people think of cardio, I have to be on a treadmill or I have to be swimming. When you're doing intense strength training and you're doing short rest periods,
Oh, yeah.
your
It's like
heart
HIIT.
rate
It's
is
like HIIT.
going up.
Dude, on leg day when there's only 45-second breaks between,
Yeah.
my heart is probably
That is
hitting
cardio.
135
Yeah.
to 150.
That is
Yep.
cardio. That is cardio, and so it's shown that doing that intense strength training, getting your heart rate up, is actually really really good for your heart in addition to your muscles.
So to settle the debate, like let's think of some common scenarios. Let's talk about someone who's overweight and who actually wants to lose weight. Russ, for you, what are you going to prioritize? Strength training or cardio?
Again, if I have to pick one, I'm going to focus on the strength training for the reasons we talked about, for the long-term benefits. For if somebody wants super quick weight loss, then they need to do lots of cardio, they need to lower their carbs, and they need to lower their calories super low. But the problem with that is that's what most people do. And guess how many of them gain the weight back? Virtually all
everyone.
of them.
Well, and
All of
actually,
America.
and actually, here's one of the problems is you have someone that tries a diet and gives up after 3 weeks, and then 3 months later hates that they're heavier than before they started their last diet. They hit the cycle again. 3 weeks later, they've given up. Fast forward 5 years, this person has failed at a half a dozen or a dozen different diets. And what they're actually doing is destroying their metabolic rate. Like there's an amount of calories you burn every single day. And when you do extreme dieting, the focus is on loss, not gain. And what loss does is it removes fat and muscle. And so what happens is you lose some fat, it didn't work, you put fat back on, but you've lost muscle. And you lose muscle with every single diet, almost everything that's out there. And what it means is now all of a sudden your metabolic rate 5 years earlier was 2,100, now it's 1,400. And I got news for you. For you to lose weight, you have to deficit below 1,400. Now you're gonna feel like you're some chick eating like rabbit salad all day long, trying to just hit 800 calories. You're gonna feel like you're dead. Because you're just not putting enough in your body. So muscle is actually about building a metabolic rate, and cardio is about reducing fat, but can also hurt muscle. The ultimate solution is going to be a balance between these two, because the question is, what is sustainable and long-term? If you're a person that likes to eat, then you need to build a body that can eat a lot, AKA a body with a lot of muscle. Like I spent a decade trying to lose weight, never figured it out. I was a 6-day-a-weeker gymmer. And then finally, I got this breakthrough with my coach. You know what they revealed? They said, Kris, if you really want to lose, you need to gain. And I said, what? Like, Kris, your body, by the way, I am broad, I am wide. You might be listening and can't see me. My body is built for muscle. It easily puts it on. That's my body type. You should always work with your body type. My body type wanted muscle. And I fought it for a decade. When I got serious and started putting it on, I put on 20 pounds of muscle. And all of a sudden, all the food I was eating, my waist was trimming. I loved what I saw in the mirror, but what I was doing was I was actually, for the first time in a decade, adding to my metabolic rate where I could enjoy a lot more food. Now I can pound thousands of calories. And my body says, bro, my metabolism is a blender. Zzz, just gonna eat, you put something in it, zzz, it's just gonna blend it. That's what muscle does, because cardio is manually removing tissue from the body, both muscle and fat. Putting on muscle is building a residual fat burner with an increased metabolic rate.
You just nailed it, Kris. Most people, they're driving that base metabolic rate lower and lower and lower. They actually would have been better off if they never did the diet in the first place. And then they do one of three things. They either stay in that vicious cycle, they give up, or they finally figure out exactly what you just described. And this is one of the biggest challenges I have with my clients when I finally get them to do it the right way, is they're frustrated because their scale weight is they're like, well, when I did this diet before, I was losing weight so much quicker. I was like, yeah, how did that turn out for you? So I have to work with their mindset and manage their expectations. Like, we're dropping body fat, gaining muscle, and permanently transforming your body. The scale is going to go down slower, but you're going to be able to keep the results that you want for the rest of your
and
life.
muscle is like a third of the size and volume to fat. So it's just like, oh, I remember when I did my first bodybuilding competition like 9 years ago. And I remember that I gained a lot of perspective during that period of time, because there was a week where I gained a pound and I swore I was perfect and I was pissed. I went in to my coach and they're measuring my body and they said, well, the scale just measures a number of weight. He said, here's the reality of what happened. You actually gained muscle, you removed fat, and that's why you gained a pound. And so I had actually lost 0.5% of body fat that week. But I gained enough muscle that it made it look this, and all of a sudden I realized it. I'm like, oh. And then you have water retention, like how much salt you're eating, determining how much water's in your body. The scale is actually a horrible judge. Unless you're trying to lose 100 pounds or more, the scale's useful at first. But when you have less than 50 pounds to lose, and 50 is a big number, but when you have less than 50 pounds, the scale starts lying to your face. You are sometimes improving, and it says that you're not. And so you have to have something more responsive and useful. This is why people need coaches. You need to be measuring fat separated from your muscle mass tissue, your skeletal muscle mass, and you have to track your water. Most people don't do those things.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this happens all the time. I have somebody that I've only lost 10 pounds, which, by the way, that took 35,000 calorie deficit to lose those 10 pounds. And then I look at their body fat percentage and see that they've gained 5 pounds of muscle.
Yep.
So you've actually lost 15.
That's a delta of 15.
15 pounds of fat put on 5 pounds of muscle, or even somebody where their weight, you said if somebody loses 10 pounds of fat and gain 10 pounds of muscle, their scale is going to be exactly the same. They are going to look dramatically different.
Yeah.
So it's all about measuring the right thing. And you cheaters, the debate is all about cardio or strength training. You guys are like, both. So let's muddy the water again. I've heard it said that you cannot outrun or outwork a crappy diet. What's more important among the three?
Well, I'm the dirty trainer, so I used to say you can't outwork a crappy diet, but it sure is fun to try. And the reality is, if you're, I've been working this a long time. I'm a lean guy, kind of like Kris. Whatever I put in my body, it eats it up. So I can maintain this level of leanness, eating pretty much whatever I want within reason. If I want to make progress and get leaner, I have to be super meticulous. But if you're trying to actually lose a lot of body fat, gain muscle, you don't have the pleasure of trying to eat whatever you want and out exercise.
There's a time and a place for dirty, and it's called maintenance mode. And
Yeah.
it is the good old 80-20 rule. When you have the right composition of muscle to fat ratio, it is amazing what the body can tolerate in terms of, bro, you eat a pint of ice cream every night. I know you do. I'm outing you right now. You eat a pint of ice cream.
I'm proud of that pint of ice cream. Hey, who wouldn't want to be able to keep
And you still have a
six-pack
freaking
abs
8-pack.
and keep and eat a pint of ice cream? But here's a little trick. Number one, you've got to earn that. You've got to get to that point, like Kris said, where you're in that maintenance mode. And then, could I eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's for 1,000 calories? Yes, but I choose to eat a pint of it's called Halo Top. It's about 300 calories. Actually has 20 grams of protein. So I'm a big believer in getting.
So it's like healthy ice cream.
He's like, when I eat ice cream, I put the muscle on my body.
I'm a big believer in getting things that taste almost as good as the real thing. But that are a healthier choice.
That's a huge plug, folks, for Halo ice cream. Almost tastes as good as the real stuff. No, I love it.
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, what I would really share is that if you're trying to lose a lot of fat, it's always going to be important to put muscle on if you want to control your metabolic rate, because when it comes time to produce a lifestyle permanent result, you want the highest metabolic rate possible. Cardio is what you add on for deficiting. So for example, someone needs 2,200 calories a day and they're eating 1,900. Well, now they're deficiting 300 by nutrition. But if they do 600 more calories burned on, the Stairmaster or the treadmill every day, that's another 600 on top of the 300.
Deficit.
Now what's happening is I'm lifting weights, I'm adding muscle, I'm manually removing fat, I'm getting a gram of protein for every pound that I weigh, and I'm deficiting 900. And here's the math. Every 3,500 deficited calories is a pound. So if you go 900 a day, run the math on this. 9 times 7, that's around 6. That's basically 7,000 calories that you're deficiting a week. That's 2 pounds a week. Now all of a sudden someone's losing 2 pounds a week while they're actually strength training, focusing on putting muscle on their body. So if you were to ask me, where does cardio fit in? Number one, it's either a passion, that's something you just love doing, some body movement, hiking or trail running or whatever, but it is to actually aid you in the deficiting process. Just never allow the deficiting to happen without muscle gain, because ultimately what's going to determine permanency is your metabolic rate, and that's a function of muscle.
Final thoughts. People often come to this podcast or YouTube channel looking for tips on wealth and gaining real estate knowledge.
Bro,
We're
what are you talking about?
today.
That's what we've been talking about. We've been talking about wealth this
Let's hear
entire
it.
freaking time.
Let's hear it. How do they connect?
Oh man, there's a direct correlation. So, Kris talks about, single digit ROI, kind of boring. Double digit gets a little more exciting. Triple digit, let's go quadruple digit. But there's one higher than quadruple. It's infinite ROI. And investing into your body, your health, and your energy is your ultimate infinite ROI. Because when you feel good, when you have energy, number one, you're going to give yourself the most likely chance of living a long time, which is going to give you time to accumulate that wealth. But also, you're going to get that immediate benefit. When you get a great workout in, you're healthy, you're energetic. You have what I call that magnetic attractiveness. It makes people attracted to you, want to do business with you. So there is an absolute direct correlation. I tell my business owner clients, like the biggest thing they say, I don't have time to work out. I help them understand they don't have time not to work out, and taking care of their health actually needs to be on their business plan.
Yeah, and I'll give you one that maybe sounds a little bit shallow, but we live in a very judgmental world. People definitely judge a book by its cover.
Well, that's why books have covers.
I know, and it's to sell you. And if you've ever seen a lame cover, you probably didn't read the book. I know that's true for me. But in truth, I'm in the game of influence like Russ is, and so people are constantly judging me. They're wondering, it's like, well, dude, I see him on his private jet on social media, or I see him driving a fancy car, living in that multi-million-dollar house, and I see him traveling all of the time. So the assumption is he must have money because they can see it. The second trophy that you have that convinces people of your results in life is your body. You either are or not a disciplined person. I was last week on a sensitive phone call with someone who wanted to take my stage and share a process, and this person is over 100 pounds overweight, and I didn't have the heart to just say to their face, I kind of gave them a little bit of a softer positioning, but it was like, there's no way in hell I'm putting a 100-pound overweight person on my stage to inspire a bunch of youth how to live their best life, because those youth will judge that person and they will not respect them. And I didn't make that rule. That is the world that we live in. And so for anyone here that is a leader in their organization, anyone that is striving for a greater level of influence, fix your body. Make your body strong. Step into supernatural health. Like, take pride in this gift God gave you. Make it great. Maybe it's just for you. Maybe it's for your family to be an example for your kids. Maybe it's, when I see someone fat, I'm like, wow, you must not love your wife very much. My wife hates it when I say that, but I say, honey, do you want me to enjoy this decade with you or the decades to come after the potential heart attack? Real love is taking care of your body, not just for you, because yes, there should be that degree of self-care, but I love my wife. She's genuinely my best friend. I know you guys love your wives. That is a great reason to be healthy. It's not so you look good naked. It's so that you can give them longevity. It's so that you can make more memories, because remember, at the end, there's only one thing that you would trade everything for, and it's time. If you really value your time, then you're spending it every day at the gym, somewhat, building your healthiest, strongest body possible.